To People's Church. My name is Sharon Sauter, and I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee, and I welcome you here today. Some of us are bringing our best selves to this space, and some of us are bringing our struggling selves, including pieces we might be ashamed of. All of us are welcome here, and all of us are loved. Some of us already have open hearts, and some of us aren't quite there yet because our hearts have gotten a little beat up this week and we might have forgotten how to trust and open. Your heart is welcome here, no matter how bruised. We welcome you among us. All of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than we woke up this morning. We have some announcements today. First off, Happy Father's Day to all those mothers and fathers that play that father role. Our next big announcement is our big sale is finally next Saturday, folks. And as you came in, you may see that the stuff is coming out of the rooms. So we've had plenty of good things being dropped off. Now we're in need of bodies, people. We've been collecting all this stuff, but next Saturday especially, we need bodies here helping us take all this stuff out bright and early in the morning. We do have some Boy Scouts, I think, that are coming to help us, but we're going to need some of our bodies as well. However, if you also want to sign up for cleanup, thanks to Rick Johnson, yay, cleanup is going to go easier because a truck is now coming to us. At the end, we don't have to load up pickup trucks and take them to Goodwill. There's going to be a big stake truck or some kind of truck, so all we'll need to do is just load everything that's left, because there's always stuff that's left, into the big truck. So again, if you can help, there's a sign-up sheet out back, but we really do need help just setting things up in the morning. And also a couple more cashiers or helpers. So it's a fun day. If you want to learn more about it, you can talk to me or Lori, I think, was out at the table. As you came to church this morning, you may have seen that there were a lot of plants outside. Those are for you to take home with you if you would like. The Boy Scouts had a sale, and those are all left over, so they wanted to share them with us. So if you want some plants, you may take them home with you. Today is our first Sunday of summer services, and you can see it looks a little different. And we have a special guest today, and our special guest is Elizabeth Closson. You may recognize her as she does attend our church. However, Elizabeth grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, spending summers at her grandparents' cottage on Crooked Lake, north of Petoskey. It was there that she learned to love water, swimming, boating, crawdads, and minnows. She graduated from a college in Michigan, but found herself living in the western suburbs of Chicago for 30 years, where she worked as a social worker and a therapist in various settings. After retirement, she and Tim moved back to Michigan, to their favorite state, and closer to 3 of their 4 children. The 4th one lives out in Seattle. Elizabeth has always loved being outside, observing all there is to see in her garden and with the animals that come around. She is especially fond of dogs and spent several years volunteering at an animal shelter in Illinois with Tim. She also, you may not know this, is a practiced seamstress and a keeper of chickens, and I think the 2 of those just go so well together. But anyway, but they also, at their home, besides their 3 dogs, they have 2 female finches, 1 fire-bellied toad, who is said to be over 11 years old, and 9 chickens. Elizabeth was drawn to the topic of today as a partial solution to our current situation of having so much difficulty talking with each other without quickly escalating to anger, argument, and a strong need to dominate each other. It is her fervent hope that by working on more compassionate ways to interact, we might be able to honor and respect even those with whom we strongly disagree. Maybe we could at least consider those possibilities. All right, now we're going to sing.
Good morning. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our opening song together. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land far and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
We'll light our chalice, a reminder of what we share. The chalice is a symbol of our faith. Like our faith, it is not magic, nor is it mysterious. We light it as a reminder of what we share as a community and of who each of us is called to be. When we feel lost in a chaotic world, may the light of our chalice show us our path. When we are afraid of the times we live in, may the light of our chalice give us courage. When we despair at the injustice and cruelty around us, may the light of our chalice recall us to a faithful hope. Our chalice is a symbol of our commitment to each other and to ourselves. We light it today as a gathered community that we may understand more completely and act more boldly and hope more fiercely.
Okay. We also have chalices lit on Zoom. We have a chalice lit in Kalamazoo Township by Nicole Road, Parkview Hills, and in Galesburg. So happy to have you folks on Zoom. Thank you.
People's Church is a community that supports one another. And one way we do this is by sharing our joys and our sorrows. I invite you to come up, say your name briefly, and share your joy or concern, and then put a stone in the water. If you'd rather not share, that's fine. Just say your name and put a stone in the bowl. If you're on Zoom, please write in Zoom, and we'll get to you. And then I'll put a few more stones for those joys, sorrows, triumphs, and milestones that we're holding in our hearts today. If you would like to join me in a silent meditation.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe with me. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
People's Church is a very giving church. When we need something, People's Church show up. Last week I was the only one signed up to collect things for the sale, but before I knew it, there were 2 or 3 other people that were there. Today, we only have 1 person, so if we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, see? People's Church, we have 5. People's Church comes through. So with that, we also know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from a lot of sacrifice and hard work. We're so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good, not only for ourselves, but for the world, rather than what we could have done alone together or by ourselves. May there be an offering now to sustain and grow the life and mission of this church, and may we give in love and gratitude. Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love that none of us can accomplish alone.
Words Are Windows or Their Walls by Ruth Barbermeyer. I feel so sentenced by your words. I feel so judged and sent away. Before I go, I've got to know, is that what you mean to say? Before I rise to my defense, before I speak in hurt or fear, before I build that wall of words, tell me, did I really hear? Words are windows or they're walls. They sense us or set us free. When I speak and when I hear, let the love light shine through me. There are things I need to say, things that mean so much to me. If my words don't make me clear, will you help me to be free? If I seem to put you down, if I felt you didn't care, try to listen through the words to the feelings that we share.
This is a poem about labels. I've never seen a lazy man. I've seen a man who never ran while I watched him. And I've seen a man who sometimes slept between lunch and dinner and who'd stay at home upon a rainy day. But he was not a lazy man. Before you call me crazy, think, was he a lazy man? Or did he just do things we label lazy? I've never seen a stupid kid. I've seen a kid who sometimes did things I didn't understand or in ways I hadn't planned. I've seen a kid who hadn't seen the same places where I had been, but he was not a stupid kid. Before you call him stupid, think, was he a stupid kid? Or did he just know different things than you did? And here's a tricky verse. I've looked as hard as I can look, but I have never seen a cook. I've seen a person who combined ingredients on which we dined, a person who turned on the heat and watched the stove that cooked the meat. I saw those things, but not a cook. Tell me, when you're looking, is it a cook you see, or is it someone doing things we call cooking? What some of us call lazy, some call tired or easygoing. What some of us call stupid, some just call a different knowing. So I've come to the conclusion it will save us all confusion if we don't mix up what we can see with what is our opinion. Because you may, I want to say also, I know that's also my opinion.
I can handle what you're telling me, what I did or didn't do, and I can handle your interpretations, but please don't mix the two. If you want to confuse any issue, I can tell you how to do it. Mix together what I do with how you react to it. Tell me that you're disappointed with the unfinished chores you see, but calling me irresponsible, it's no way to motivate me. And tell me that you're feeling hurt when I say no to your advances, but calling me a frigid man won't increase your future chances. Yes, I can handle your telling me what I did or didn't do, and I can handle your interpretations, but please don't mix the two.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I
Have you ever had what you thought was a really good idea? Ooh, I could do that, and it would work out just great. And then you go to implement it, and you have serious second thoughts. Well, that happened to me with the topic for this morning. I've been familiar for years with Marshall Rosenberg's work. We've studied it at another church, and I've tried very hard to practice it. A couple of months ago, I suggested to Reverend Rachel that maybe we could do something with nonviolent communication here, which is what Marshall Rosenberg taught. I thought maybe it would be helpful in this time, in this place, in our country, and in our world. So we agreed that I would begin by talking with you today about this. Great, I thought. I'm really excited about this. And then I tried to sit down and boil it into a 10 or 12-minute talk. Yeah. What I quickly realized as I reread my books on my topic and did some research is this. If nonviolent communication is totally new to you, and even if it isn't, it's a very big topic. How can I convey the essence of it? So let's start with a question. How many of you have heard of Marshall Rosenberg and his topic about nonviolent communication? A few of you? Okay. So most of us are newbies, and that's okay. I'm not going to teach it all to you, but we'll get a little start going. How about this? How many of you have been in a situation recently when, as you listened to someone express their views, all you could think about was, that's wrong. I can't wait until I can say my piece and set them straight. How many, right? Yeah, okay. Every one of us. Whether it's at home, at work, at the school board meeting, at the bar, listening to the news, we've all been there. And that's why I think especially now this is important. Marshall Rosenberg was an American psychologist, a mediator, an author, and a teacher who, beginning in the 1960s, developed a process for resolving conflict within the individual, in relationships, and in all of society. Ultimately, he was so successful with this approach that he worked worldwide. In 1984, he founded the Center of Nonviolent Communications in New Mexico, and by 2004, he was visiting 35 countries a year teaching this process. So you know that it has to be working. I'm sure you figured out why I want to bring these ideas of Rosenberg's to you today. Our country and even the world seems to be in a painful amount of disagreement and rancor. While there's a lot to learn in a short time, the basics are simple, so I'm going to plant some seeds. To begin with, I'm borrowing heavily from an article by Alan Seed, a certified trainer for nonviolent communication. And he writes that all human beings have the same universal human needs. And if we could get that up on the screen for us, there you go. We're going to leave those up there because, as you can see, even that is quite a lot of stuff. But generally speaking, autonomy, connection, meaning, physical well-being, peace, play, and honesty or integrity are things that we all need. All words and actions are attempts, whether effective or not, at meeting these needs. The word violence means more than physical harm. Violence includes judgment, language that induces fear, guilt, or shame, making demands, or any behavior that cuts off communication. Once the needs specific to a situation are identified, we can collaboratively develop strategies that satisfy the needs, or as many of them as possible at least. So obviously, communication is important in this process. But the issue isn't communication, itself. Think about this. What is communication for? What kind of information is being shared? Is it straight facts, like 2 + 2 is 4? Or is it what we most often deal with, opinions, theories, and practices, which vary, of course, from person to person and group to group? Communication is to convey to someone else. Intention is a whole second question. If our intention in communicating with another is to convey information like the bus arrives at 2 p.m., we have a different approach and exchange with someone than if the intention is to tell someone that their idea is wrong and ours is right. You can't get the kitchen floor clean unless you get on your hands and knees and scrub it with a toothbrush. Your Swiffer is not going to cut it. We need to be able to have some sort of trust in each other as we communicate in order to get anywhere. Why would I listen to you if I don't trust you as a reliable source? Someone who somehow has an interest in helping me meet my universal needs. Think about it this way. When we first meet someone new and we know nothing about them, we have no idea whether to trust them or not. So what do? We start a conversation and we begin to feel out who they are. We compare ideas about what kinds of weather we like, the sports that we watch or play, the life circumstances we have, our professional undertakings, our lifestyles. The more that we find out that this person likes and does the same categories of things, the more we are likely to trust and be comfortable with them. The less we find in common, the more likely we are to remain somewhat guarded, maybe still open, but not so sure. If we're brave enough to ask folks in this latter category of acquaintances why they do what they do and how they come to their conclusions, and then non-judgmentally listen to their answers, the more likely they may become to listening to us. Eventually, we may begin to see that although we have different routes to get there, we do indeed have these same universal needs and have found different ways to attempt to meet them. This is how trust can be built. It doesn't always happen, but this is the route. Listening without judgment is a key component. Our culture has taught us mostly to listen to respond rather to listen to understand. And there's a big difference there. Nonviolent communication listening helps us to understand the values that underlie the judgments that we make. Nonviolent communication invites us to look at the values, what is dear and precious, those universal human needs that lie at the deeper level than the judgmental language. For instance, if you are listening and you're thinking, liar, then when you go deeper, you might see that you value honesty. Now, when I say that, that sounds obvious, but we don't usually go to that lower level right away. We just think, that's not right. But you may be valuing honesty and integrity. If you notice in yourself or hear from others the judgments selfish and greedy, you might also notice underlying values to take the needs of others into account, not just our own. Transforming our own judgments by learning to put our attention on what is precious and dear and important is also the first step in hearing opinions that are different from our own without judgment. This is the process called self-empathy. Giving attention so we can connect with our own deeper feelings and needs is an essential step to take before being able to sense the feelings and needs of the person we're judging. Then, even if we disagree on a method or a strategy for accomplishing something, we can make the connection between the other person's humanity and our own, which leads to the ability to listen without judgment. Again, we are now able to connect at the level of those universal human needs, which we all share. When we can humanize people who make choices we strongly disagree with, we have a greater chance of engaging them in constructive dialogue to find outcomes. Understanding the deeper needs and motivations, we can shift the dialogue about our differences of perspective away from who's right and who's wrong, which often leads to stuck conversations, and into a field where we might find more effective strategies to attend all the needs at play. With nonviolent communication, we can communicate with compassion in order to bridge our divides. If we stop thinking of the other as an enemy, it opens up possibilities for future outcomes for everybody. First, we want to use the self-empathy or gain empathy from another to connect with those deeper needs and values beneath our judgments, or whatever it is that's generating pain for us and blocking our compassion. We want to connect with what is near and dear to all of us, rather than focusing on who's right and who's wrong. Usually we can only extend our empathetic selves to others when we have connected with ourselves in this way. Then we are able to focus on and try to understand another's needs beneath the words and the behavior. When we imagine what precious needs someone might be trying to meet through their actions, we humanize them. This is one way to be compassionate. Important point, this does not mean we're agreeing with them. We're doing our best to understand, even and especially when we disagree. We can ask ourselves, what are they trying to protect? Are they afraid? Can we look inside ourselves to try to identify where we can relate to that other person's experiences and behavior? Are we able to humanize that other person so we are less likely to see them as an enemy? Now, the way I'm laying this out, theoretical things always sound nice and neat and tidy. It may sound simple, but it requires a huge amount of practice and unlearning previous patterns of thinking and relating to other people. Eventually, though, it transforms our ways of thinking, communicating, and relating. We can learn to show empathy with people with other views. Again, this doesn't mean we agree, adopt another's perspective, or justify things that we feel are harmful. It means that though we may see things very differently, we are trying to understand a part of another's humanity that would lead them to have the perspective that they have. A secondary benefit is that the other person is more willing to hear us out if they feel like they've been heard first. One reason this process is simple and yet not easy is because most of us are very attached to being right. A basic question to ask here is, why would we want to show empathy to others with different views? Are there benefits for us personally for doing this? Part of the answer involves us clarifying what kind of world we want to live in and how we want to influence the culture in which we live. When someone with a different perspective addresses themselves to us, how do we want to be treated? The alternative to showing empathy to others with whom we disagree is a world of violence, whether it is overt, explicit violence, or subtle, nearly invisible violence, like writing them off as crazy or stupid. Everyone loses. Learning how to show empathy to others with different views is the beginning of finding common ground that would lead us to co-create mutually satisfying outcomes. Nonviolent communication helps us to find that common ground between people by putting our attention on the place of our shared humanity. And I'm going to say it again, universal human needs. So the first piece is finding common ground. Now there's a second piece, strategy. Conflicts happen at the level of strategy, the way we go about meeting the needs. Conflicts can't happen at the level of needs because we all have the same needs. The trick is finding common ground. To finding common ground is to slow down the conversation and go for connection before going for solution. When we take the time to identify needs, separate from any strategies or how to do it, then people can start relating to each other on the basis of our shared humanity. As you might imagine, strategy is a whole other Sunday, so we'll save that for another day. Meanwhile, I sincerely invite you to consider these ideas and the questions that we've offered in the small groups we're going to do. If you're interested in pursuing further nonviolent communication study in some form, my email is in the bulletin. Please let me know.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You gave us a lot to think about. So now, in a summer session, what we do is we're going to move our chairs and break up into small groups of like 5 or 6 people. If you get more than 6, it makes it a little hard for everybody to get an opportunity. You can see that Elizabeth has come up with some questions in your bulletin, and I believe, yep, some short versions are up here. So you'll break up into some small groups. Usually someone takes over and starts leading the discussion, so don't worry if nobody starts talking. Eventually someone will. But remember the discussion guidelines. We want to make sure you speak the truth as you understand it, and please don't comment on others' comments until everyone's had a chance to speak. And then you will hear the piano being played, about 15 minutes or so, and that'll be a call to come back together. So if you want to just break up into small groups now and answer the questions. It's wonderful to hear all these conversations. We're going to start coming together and know that after we sing this last song, you can continue these conversations with people in your circle.
Yeah, for now, I'm going to invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing. And then, yes, please do continue these conversations after. Touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
What a beautiful picture that is of the poppies. Think about what you heard today. Think about what you two talked about in the discussions, and go now in peace.